Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we are going to discuss Ashtanga Yoga. We have already discussed about Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, the yoga of action and the yoga of knowledge. Today we are going to discuss about the third system of yoga that is described in the Bhagavad Gita, the Ashtanga Yoga or the yoga of meditation, also called Dhyana Yoga or Hatha Yoga. This yoga system is described in the Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter. The aim of this yoga practice is to establish one's relationship with the Supreme through meditation on the Supersoul in the heart. It is called Ashtanga Yoga because there are 8 steps one has to follow before one reaches perfection in this yoga system. What are the 8 steps? The 8 steps are Yama. Yama means restrictions in one's habits. Then there is Niyama. Niyama is certain prescribed duties one has to perform. That's the second step. The third step is Asana, or performing some exercises to be able to sit properly in a particular posture to be able to do meditation. The fourth step is called Pranayama. It is breath control through some breathing exercises. The fifth step is called Pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. And the sixth step is called Dharana. Dharana means concentration, to be able to conceive the form of the Lord in the heart within one's mind and fix the attention or concentration on that form. And the seventh step is Dhyana. Having fixed the attention on that form of Paramatma conceived in the mind, one should meditate on that form. And the 8th step is the perfection, Samadhi. Samadhi means trance or total absorption of one's self in that form of the Supreme Lord within the heart. So this is the 8-fold mystic yoga system. And what is the goal? The goal is actually detachment from the material world and actually become connected with the Supreme after achieving this detachment from the material world. In the Srimad-Bhagavatam, there are examples of yogi who practice this Ashtanga Yoga system in a former age. One example is Dhruva Maharaja. Dhruva Maharaja practiced this Ashtanga Yoga system and attained success. The story is given in the Srimad-Bhagavatam in the 4th canto, in the 8th chapter. There was a king by name Uttanapada. He was ruling over the whole universe. He had 2 queens, Suniti and Suruchi. He was more attached to his younger queen, Suruchi, and he had one son each through each of these queens. Both were small boys. Suruchi had, through Suruchi, Uttanapada had a son by name Uttama, and through Suniti, the elder queen, he had a son by name Dhruva. Once upon a time, when King Uttanapada was seated on his throne, he had his son Uttama on his lap. Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva came to the king, and he was also trying to get on the lap of the king. While he was doing so, the king did not very much welcome this boy, Dhruva. Then Queen Suruchi, who was nearby, she began to speak to Dhruva. My dear child, you do not deserve to sit on the throne or the lap of your father. You are also the son of the king, but because you have not taken birth from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on the throne. You are not aware that your attempt is doomed to failure. If at all you desire to actually rise to the throne of the king, then you have to undergo severe austerities. You have to first of all satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then you should take birth from my womb. Only then it will be possible for you to become the king. When Dhruva heard this from his stepmother, he felt as if he had been struck by a thunderbolt. He did not protest, but saw that his father was sitting silently without taking any action or speaking anything. So he immediately left the palace and went to his mother. When Dhruva reached his mother, his lips were trembling in anger, and he began crying very grievously. Queen Suniti immediately lifted her son onto her lap, while the palace residents narrated all the events that took place leading to Dhruva becoming very aggrieved. So this incident was totally unbearable for Queen Suniti. But she also realized what could she do under the circumstances. So she began to speak to her son, Dhruva, my dear son, don't wish anything inauspicious for others. Anyone who inflicts pain upon others will definitely suffer himself or herself from that pain. Suniti said, my dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Suruchi is a fact, because your father, King Uttanapada, does not consider me as his wife or even as his maidservant. He feels ashamed to accept me. If at all you desire to sit on the throne, then you should immediately execute the instructions what your stepmother has given. You should without delay engage in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Narayana, whom even great yogis worship by controlling their mind and regulating their prana. So this instruction of Dhruva Maharaja's mother Suniti was meant actually for fulfilling Dhruva's desire. After deliberate consideration, with intelligence and with determination, Dhruva immediately left his father's palace. The great sage Narada overheard this news And understanding all the activities of Dhruva, he was struck with wonder. He approached Dhruva and touching the boy's head with his all auspicious hand, he began to speak. Narada Muni just thought for a moment, how wonderful are these Kshatriyas. They can't tolerate even a slight insult. Just imagine, this boy is such a small child, yet harsh words from his stepmother have proved to be unbearable to him, to the extent that he has left the palace and walked out. So then Narada Muni took compassion upon this boy. He said, "My dear boy, you are after all a small child, and this is the age where you should be engaged in playing and other such frivolous activities. Why are you so affected by your stepmother's insult? You have decided to undertake the mystic process of meditation under the instruction of your mother, but please remember, it is not very easy for a small boy like you to actually practice this meditation. You should not endeavor for this because you will not be successful. Better you go home. When you are grown up, then by the mercy of the Lord, you will get a chance for practicing this mystic yoga. At that time, you may come to the forest and do practice this meditation." Dhruva Maharaj replied, "My dear Lord, I am very impudent for not accepting your instructions, but this is not my fault. My stepmother Suruchi has pierced my heart with her harsh words. I want to occupy a throne exalted, most exalted in the three worlds, greater than what my father or my grandfather or even my great-grandfather has achieved. If you will kindly oblige me, please advise me of an honest path to follow by which I can achieve the goal of my life." Narada Muni, upon hearing these words from this boy, became very compassionate, and in order to show his causeless mercy towards Dhruva, Narada Muni gave him advice. He told Dhruva, "You should go to the bank of the Yamuna, where there is a virtuous forest named Madhuvana. You should take bath in the waters of the Yamuna river 3 times a day. And after bathing, you should perform the necessary regulative principles for ashtanga yoga. Sit down on your asana in a calm and quiet position. After sitting down on the seat, practice the 3 kinds of breathing exercises. Gradually control the life air, the mind, and the senses. Completely free yourself from all material contamination, and with great patience, begin to meditate on the Supreme Lord." Then Narada Muni describes the form of the Lord on which Dhruva should perform the meditation. The Lord's form is always youthful. His eyes and lips are pinkish like the rising sun. The Lord is described as having a Srivatsa mark on his chest. It is the sitting place of the goddess of fortune. His bodily hue is deep bluish. He is a person. He always wears a garland of flowers. He is eternally manifest with his 4 hands, which hold 4 symbols. The conch, the wheel, the club, and lotus flower. He wears valuable jeweled helmet. He has a necklace and he wears bracelets. His neck is adorned with the Kaustuba jewel. He is dressed in yellow silk garments. Real yogis meditate upon this transcendental form as he stands on the wall of the lotus in their hearts. The jewel-like nails of his lotus feet are very dazzling. One who meditates in this way, concentrating his mind upon the all-auspicious form of the Lord, is very soon freed from all material contamination. And such a yogi that never comes down from meditation upon the Lord. Now I shall also give you a mantra which is to be chanted with the process of meditation. It is a 12-syllable mantra, Dvadashakshari mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. One who has got full control over his self should be very sober and peaceful, must be satisfied simply by eating whatever fruits and vegetables are available in the forest. One should offer worship within his heart by reciting the mantra to the Supreme Lord, who is non-different from the mantra. When Dhruva heard this advice by the sage Narada, he circumambulated the sage, offered him his respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvana, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna and therefore is always auspicious. Dhruva, having arrived at Madhuvana, took his bath in the river Yamuna and observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Lord as directed by Narada Muni. For the first month, Dhruva ate only fruits and berries on every third day to keep his body and soul together, and in this way he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Lord. What I mentioned as yama and niyama, restrictions and prescribed duties, it mainly involves controlling one's eating, sleeping, etc. Particularly, eating and sleeping are two big impediments for sense control, for practicing spiritual life. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, Krishna says, Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. To practice this yoga system, or any yoga system, not only ashtanga yoga, one has to regulate especially one's eating and sleeping, and also one's work and recreation, leisure. So Dhruva was very, very strict in controlling his eating, that he used to eat, kindly note this, he used to eat every third day only some fruits and berries which were available in the forest to keep his body and soul together, just to maintain his life. In this way, he made very rapid progress. What did he do in the second month? This was the first month. The second month, he intensified his fasting, cutting down eating. In the second month, Dhruva Maharaj ate once every 6 days. The first month was once every 3 days. The second month was once every 6 days. And what did he eat? He did not eat fruits and berries. He took some dry grass and leaves. The idea is to control the tongue. The tongue always demands something very palatable. And among all the senses, it is said that the tongue is the most difficult to control. Therefore, the yogi has to definitely control the tongue. That is possible by completely restraining speaking and restraining eating. These are the two functions of the tongue. So, as far as speaking is concerned, Dhruva would only chant the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, no other talk. And as far as eating is concerned, he cut down his eating, just eating some dry grass and leaves, just to sustain the life in his body. This was the second month, once every 6 days. In the third month, what did he do? He stopped eating all solid food. He just was drinking water once every 9 days. Even that water he had put down to drinking water once every 9 days. Thus he completely remained in trance, worshipping the Supreme Lord by chanting that mantra which Narada Muni had given him, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. In the fourth month, Dhruva became complete master of the breathing exercise. See, we have Yama, Niyama, Asana. He has been able to properly sit in the particular posture which is suitable for meditation, and he has cut down his eating, completely stopped all solid food. He has cut down his drinking water also. And now, through breathing exercises, he is living only on breathing some air. Through the breathing exercise, he inhaled air once every 12th day. That means after inhaling, he will hold his breath for 12 days. This is possible by practicing breathing exercises. Pranayam, this is the fourth step. In this way, he became completely fixed in his position and worshipped the Supreme Lord with full concentration. The fifth month, Dhruva had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on one leg, just as a column stands without motion, and concentrate his mind fully on the Lord in the heart. Remember, Narada Muni had described the form of the Lord. So Dhruva had completely fixed up that form in his heart, and he was fully concentrating his attention on the form of the Lord in the heart. He completely controlled his senses and their objects, and in this way he fixed his mind. He withdrew his senses from all sense objects, external sense objects, and he was able to fully concentrate on meditation on the Lord within. Thus, Dhruva Maharaj captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation and who is the master of all living entities. When he did this, the three worlds began to tremble. What happened? As he kept himself steady, standing on one leg, the pressure of the big toe of Dhruva Maharaj's foot began to push down the earth. Almost the earth went down halfway. Just as an elephant, when it is carried on a boat, it rocks the boat as it keeps every step. Now Dhruva became practically one in heaviness with Lord Vishnu. Due to his fully concentrating and closing the holes of his body, and the total universal breathing became choked up, and all the great demigods in all the planetary systems felt suffocated, and thus they took shelter of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. The demigods prayed to the Lord, "Dear Lord, you are the refuge of all moving and non-moving living beings. We feel all living entities to be suffocating. Their breathing process has been choked up. We never have experienced such a thing. You are the ultimate shelter. kindly save us from this danger. The Supreme Lord replied, my dear demigods, do not be perturbed. It is due to the severe austerity of the son of King Uttanapada, Dhruva, who is fully absorbed in meditation on me. He has obstructed the universal breathing process. You can safely return to your own homes. I shall stop this boy in his severe austerity and you'll be saved from the situation. Don't worry. Then the Lord immediately got on the back of Garuda, his carrier, and Garuda immediately brought him to Madhuvana, where Dhruva was standing and meditating. As soon as the Lord arrived there, Dhruva was completely absorbed in meditation on the Lord. When the Lord arrived, Dhruva suddenly felt that the Lord's sight had disappeared from his heart. And then he became very perturbed and he just opened his eyes because his meditation was broken. And suddenly he saw the Lord right in front of him. He became very, very jubilant and immediately he offered his obeisances, full obeisances. He became flat like a rod before the Supreme Lord and he became ecstatic, as if he were drinking the beauty of the Lord through his eyes. He was kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth and he was embracing the Lord within his arms, all within his hut. Dhruva Maharaj was a small boy. Still, he wanted to offer nice prayers to the Lord, but he was inexperienced, so he could not immediately adjust. So the Lord could understand Dhruva's awkward position. So what did the Lord do? He took his conch and touched Dhruva's head with his conch. At that time, Dhruva Maharaj became completely aware of all the Vedic conclusions and he understood the absolute truth, his relationship with the absolute truth. And then Dhruva began to offer wonderful prayers. When Dhruva Maharaj had finished offering all his prayers, the Supreme Lord, who is very kind to his devotees and servants, congratulated and spoke to Dhruva. My dear Dhruva, you executed pious vows and I also know the desire within your heart. Although your desire is very ambitious and very difficult to fulfill, I shall still favor you with its fulfillment. I shall award you the planet known as the pole star, which will continue to exist even after the dissolution of the entire universe. No one ever before you has ruled this planet, which is surrounded by all the solar systems, the planets and the stars. All the luminaries in the sky circumambulate this planet, keeping the pole star to their right. This planet will continue to exist even after the dissolution of all other planets. Further, the Lord told Dhruva, after your father goes to the forest and awards you the rule of his kingdom, that means Uttanapada was ruling the whole universe. So Dhruva will actually take over from his father, Uttanapada, when his father retires. And Dhruva will continuously rule the universe for 36,000 years. And during that time, all his senses will be strong. He will never become old. 36,000 years. The Lord further said, I am the heart of all sacrifices. So you will be able to perform many great sacrifices and also give great charities. In this way, you will enjoy the blessings of material happiness in this life. And at the time of death, you will remember me, the Supreme Lord. After quitting your body, you will go to my planet which is always offered obeisances by all the residents of all other planetary systems. It is situated above even the planets of the Saptarishis, Saptarishi Mandala. Having gone there, you will never again come back to this material world. So after being worshipped and honored by Dhruva, the Supreme Lord returned to his abode on the back of Garuda as Dhruva was looking on. So this description in the Srimad-Bhagavatam of Dhruva performing severe austerities and meditation achieved success just in 6 months. This is unprecedented, and it is very, very, very rare. But then we should also remember that Dhruva was actually living in an age in which it is recommended to follow this process of ashtanga yoga. In the Srimad-Bhagavatam it is said, Krite yadhyayato Vishnum. In Krita Yuga or Sakya Yuga, the process of self-realization is meditation on Vishnu through the ashtanga yoga process. So Dhruva performed this ashtanga yoga meditation because he was living in Satya Yuga. That's the reason he was able to perform, and he was successful. So I will take some questions now. The last question. Here I have a question. The soya made foodstuff which can't be offered to the Lord, can it become prasadam once sprinkled with offered water, or if mixed with any other prasadam? Can it become prasadam? Well, the system is that if some foodstuff which is purely vegetarian but somehow cannot be offered to the Lord because it's not prepared by the devotee, then such foodstuff cannot be made into prasadam, because prasadam means that which is offered to the Lord. Remnants of food offered to the Lord is called prasadam. So you cannot make it prasadam without offering to the Lord. And since it is not suitable for offering to the Lord, you cannot make it prasadam. But you can do one thing. You can chant the prayer to purify that foodstuff. Om apavitra pavitrova sarvavastangatopiva yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhakhya abhyantara shuchihi Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Simply by remembering the lotus-eyed Supreme Lord, anything can be purified of all material contamination. So by chanting this prayer and specifically chanting the name of Vishnu 3 times, you can purify that food, and that purified food is not prasadam, but it is free from all material contamination, and therefore accepting such food under the circumstances where you are unable to offer that food, you can actually take it safely. It is not prasadam, but it is free from material contamination. Next question. Bhagavad Gita 2.47 says, not be attached to not doing your duty. What if someone doesn't want to set an example for others? Still, does he have to work? Do you mean, does a person still have to do his duty even if he does not want to set an example for others? Yes, duty has to be performed. As long as one is not situated on the spiritual platform, on the material platform, duties are absolutely essential to be performed. If somebody does not perform their duty while on the material platform, then they will incur sinful reactions for not doing the duty. That's why Krishna says, don't be attached to not doing your duty. If someone has not reached to the stage of following 4 regulative principles, even after multiple attempts, can such a person take Harinam Diksha and wait for the Guru's mercy for purification for following the 4 regulative principles? No, the Harinam Diksha is awarded to anybody who is actually following the 4 regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra in the form of japa. So if somebody is not yet able to follow, then they have to actually take guidance from other devotees who are actually competent to guide. And it is possible to actually follow the 4 regulative principles for anyone. Srila Prabhupada, when he went to America, he actually gave guidance to hippies who were involved in all kinds of sinful activities. And by following those guidelines given by Srila Prabhupada, those hippies were able to, some of them, many of them, not just some of them, many of them were able to give up all the sinful activities and completely become free from the sinful activities to be able to actually take Diksha. So it's possible, it's not impossible. It may seem like it is very difficult or just not possible because somebody trying on their own might have failed. But if you take guidance, then it is quite possible. Okay, next question. Are there ashtanga yogis in the present age also? Yes, there are some rare souls, especially in the Himalayas. Srila Prabhupada said that in the Himalayas there are some yogis, ashtanga yogis, who are seriously practicing and whose age we cannot make out by looking at their external bodily features. They look like some 25-year-old people, but they may be 1,000 years old on this planet, or they may be 10,000 years old. What happens for a yogi is, by controlling his breathing, he is able to extend his number of years, his duration of life in terms of number of years. Because our duration of life is exactly measured in terms of number of breaths. So generally we breathe at a certain rate. It's like maybe 10 seconds I will inhale and exhale. But if I am able to practice pranayama, I can inhale and exhale just once every minute. Further practice, I can extend my breath, one breath to 10 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. So yogis can extend their one breath to last thousands of years. So you can imagine what happens to their lifespan. Ordinarily, a person's duration of life in terms of number of years, let's say, is 80 years. That 80 years gets multiplied, or whatever balance. Let's say a yogi has got a lifespan of 40 years. And then that 40 years is the balanced lifespan if he breathes normally like you and me, ordinary persons. But if his breathing is extended, then his one breath, if it lasts 1,000 years, can imagine how much his balanced 40 years can get multiplied. It can get multiplied several times. Each 10 seconds of his duration of life can get multiplied by 10,000, potential 10,000 years. So we can't even compute how long they can live. But the purpose is so that they are able to actually focus their attention, completely controlling their eating, sleeping, their breathing, their everything, curtailing that, and fully focusing and meditating on the Supreme Lord, so as to become completely absorbed in meditation and no other business. Total absorption in meditation on the Supreme Lord. That is called samadhi. That's the perfection of meditation. That's not easy to achieve. So, for achieving that perfection, yogis are actually practicing with so much of severe austerity. Anyway, that perfection of total absorption in the Supreme Lord is made very, very easy for us in Kali Yuga through practicing chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, while fixing our mind completely on the sound of the holy name, which is very, very easy. Very easy compared to fixing our attention on the form of the Lord in the heart. This fixing the mind on the transcendental sound is much easier, and it is practically possible for anyone to do it with practice, with proper guidance. So it is recommended that one try to fix one's attention on the holy name. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.